Do you like history? Well, here at Dark Horse Workshop, I do a lot of historically inspired stuff, but today we're doing something actually historical. Before we get started though, remember that you can help support this channel by becoming a member. There's a link below this video in the doodly-doo. Make sure you check that out, or you can subscribe, like the video, hit the notification button, and share it around. All of those help this channel grow, and it's greatly appreciated. Now, let's get started. Remember that you can get all my patterns and artwork on my website. There's a link in the description down below. You can also get the same patterns and artwork on the month they were released on my Patreon, which is super underrated. You should definitely at least have a look at that. You can save a bunch of money on patterns and art. Also remember that all the tools and supplies that I use in my videos are linked in the description of my videos, so make sure you go have a look at that if you're looking for tools and supplies. So this is a 5.5 ounce oil tan that I had kicking around. I used a 4 ounce of the same material that I skived down for the binding that I put on it. But other than that, it's all the same thickness of leather, even the gusset. Now I'm lucky enough to have a bell skiver here, so I can skive this from 5.5 ounce to 4 ounces really easily. You probably don't have that. If you do, that's awesome. Congratulations, because they're amazing. But if you don't have that, just use something thinner. Hell, even having something with a contrasting color probably would have been pretty cool on this pouch. As it is, it's all the same color, so having that binding pop would be pretty nice. I'm just using some pretty thin waxed thread, contrasting color, stitching pony, and a saddle stitch. Then I'm just back stitching my way down. I'm gonna snip it and burn the ends. How about a big thumbs up for hand stitching? I could easily sew these with a machine, but I figure for my videos they should probably be as close to what you guys are gonna do as possible. Occasionally I don't do that, but most of my videos I'm trying to hand stitch. Here's all that amazing bronze hardware from Raymonds Quiet Press. I'm just going to use some jacks here to darken it up. Then I'm going to neutralize it with some baking soda. And then we're going to sand it with a sanding block and some sandpaper to bring out all the highlights. Then we just have to press it down, put our marks in, punch our holes, and mount all of our hardware. Make sure you're balancing all your pieces, because it's quite easy to get lopsided on one side if everything's not measured out. I'll put a picture of this front in the pattern, so people can just use it as a reference. I've got this little chisel tool that I'm using to split these split rivets. And I'm also using a rivet setter to make sure that everything's seated nicely. You can use a pair of pliers to seat it by like holding on to the stems lightly and just kind of giving it a little tap. And you could split it with all sorts of different tools. You could use a screwdriver. I just happen to have these tools that work perfectly for this job. Now, if you're on a budget and you can't afford a full set of these mounts from Raymonds Quiet Press, I do know that they sell the catch in the center, as well as these little pieces around the edge, separately. One thing I ended up doing was making sure all of these mounts on the tongue were super hammered down to make sure I had enough space when I put it through the center keeper of the pouch. What you were looking for. See, I'm trying to figure out how to get this in here. So I trim off the end, I hit it with the skiver a little bit, I flatten everything down, and it still wasn't really fitting perfectly. So I end up using a pair of needle nose pliers to help open up the centerpiece for me. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. I think maybe it wasn't wide enough, so these taps with these needle nose pliers opened it up just enough, and then everything worked perfectly, because if you look at this angle here, it does seem deep enough, so probably just not wide enough. There is a hole here because my pattern was off and I was winging it. So I just throw some stitching in there. But when I do throw the stitching in there, I realize that, man, I like the stitching a lot more than I like the brass rivets, which is rare for me to say something like that because I love my brass rivets. Oh yeah, and about those brass rivets, I decided to remove the ones that are immediately visible and put some stitching in because I thought it looked better. There are little indents from my burrs that I had on the rivets, but I don't care. I like how this looks a lot more. It ties everything together nicely. All the metal is the same. All the stitching is the same. I may remove these rivets on the back because of my OCD and replace them with some stitching. Obviously, all these little changes along the way and tweaks to the pattern will be in the final pattern, so you don't have to worry about it. But I think the stitching looks really cool, so that would be how I would do it if I was going to do it again from scratch. Who knows if I'll make another one of these. But I love the way these pouches look. They really look super slick. Now, here I am. I'm just going to do some patinaing of these rivets. And it actually helps match it to the bronze a little better, but it's still not perfect. But that's okay. It makes it a little darker and blends a bit better. Now, this pattern works just fine without the bronze. The bronze just looks amazing. I'm going to do some Viking knotwork to be released with this pattern. And there's also some layered leather bits to make it look even better. That is a fantastic looking pouch. Now, I'm going to throw another video up here for you guys. Make sure you check out the pattern for this pouch on my website, the fittings on Raymonds Quiet Press's website. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for future videos, like it, hit the notification button, all that jazz. And until next time, keep on being creative in whatever it is you do.